Welcome back to the senior year game plan, where we talk through what exactly you should do during your senior year of high school to make sure that you don't miss any opportunities for financial aid and to explore the best and the hottest and the most lucrative career choices in this new and changing job market, even if you don't like school or haven't been strong in academics so far. We also talk about non-traditional paths like exploring the trades and entrepreneurship, and also the military and what that can bring to your skill sets and your career prospects. My name is Michelle Ehrlich. I'm also an Army veteran. I'm a former teacher, and now I host a YouTube channel called Hot Next Gen Careers, where we explore the latest and the most lucrative career paths for young people today. Today, we're going to dive into a field that's not only in high demand, but it also offers excellent earnings potential and room for growth: cybersecurity. We talked about it last week, but today we're excited to have a actual cybersecurity person working in this field who is also in the military reserves with us. Her name is Stephanie. We're going to leave it at that because you can imagine in this type of field, we don't want to expose anybody's actual information. We just want to talk in general because security is the most important for people that work in that field. Speaking of security, cybersecurity is expected to grow by 35% over the next decade, which is faster than almost any other industry, with an average salary starting around $90,000 and often climbing above six figures. It's a field where skilled professionals are urgently needed to help protect the data and the systems around the world. So we have this fantastic career opportunity that is also a potential path for women. We have Stephanie here to prove it. Although women currently only make up about 25% of the cybersecurity workforce, their presence is growing rapidly. And with an emphasis on creative problem solving, leadership, and strategic thinking, women have a significant opportunity to make a strong impact here. So we were talking about cybersecurity, and in our minds, Alice and Amory, they're here from they're seniors from Forest Hills High School. They are our weekly guests with us and also breaking down the information, because we all need to understand. We think of cybersecurity as something where you're behind a computer and really not necessarily dynamic or not necessarily interconnected with people. And so we really appreciate, Stephanie, you coming and kind of giving us a deeper perspective of what this career is. And since you're also a military personnel, you're not only building an impressive career in cybersecurity, but you're also a military reservist. So we want to talk to you about balancing your two positions. So for anyone interested in cybersecurity, military is an excellent path for training. Whether you're active duty or in the reserves, the military offers extensive education and hands-on experience in cybersecurity, so that it helps service members gain skills that you can then take into your civilian roles after you leave the service. So Amory and Alice are here to give us perspective about thinking about their next steps. They're going to talk us through what high school students might be thinking about military or reserves, and also cybersecurity. We're talking about career goals with them always, and education options, and then the opportunities in cybersecurity, especially for young women that are interested in this exciting and growing field. So we want to dig through how one can get into cybersecurity, the kind of degree programs, maybe certifications, a hands-on experience, your military reserve. So I'm talking a lot, but we want to start to dig into this. I have some questions for you, Stephanie, and also for Amory and Alice. So we want to again learn about one of the hottest career paths out there, and then how to get started. So let's start to dive into that. So Stephanie, I have some questions for you, and then I'm going to turn this to Amory and Alice so they can also consider maybe how military service might interact with their own career and education goals. So about your military experience, Stephanie, can you share what led you to join the military reserves? I think you're in the reserves, right? You're not
I
active duty.
am a reservist with the Army. As soon as I got out of my training in October, I came back to New York with every intention to actually separate from this branch so I can go become an officer in the Air Force. So I'm in the middle of doing that this month. I have to take an exam. It's an officer training exam for the Air Force, and then I will prepare my packet, hopefully send it for April of 2025, go to the boards, and then be giving a date to attend their academy.
Wow. So, okay,
Yeah.
that we're going to step back a minute there for that, because so you're switching from one service, Army, to another service, Air Force. You're switching from enlisted to officer. How easy is it to do something, to switch between services? If you find a better option, can you just up and switch to the Air Force?
I think the sooner you make the decision and put in the paperwork to separate, get your DD-214, that's the separation paperwork, and start talking to a recruiter for the other branch that you want to switch, it's going to be a smoother process. And the sooner it's done, the better for Air Force, because the slots are limited for officer training school.
So you had to have a bachelor's degree to become an officer, correct?
Yes, you do.
All right.
Absolutely.
So in the meanwhile, while people don't have their bachelor's degree yet, they can do enlisted and they can also do JR or ROTC, right? Did you do either of those things? Were you ROTC? So ROTC means while you're in college getting your degree, you are also training part-time in the military. So then when you get your bachelor's degree, you've gotten that 4 years of part-time military training and you become an officer, correct? Is that what you did?
I did not. I went into the military at 30 years old. So I was not, fresh out of high school, 18. It's not ideal to go in earlier. I mean, it's not ideal to go in much later in life like I did. It's better to go in like at 18. Maybe you do your bachelor's going at 21, 22. I think age matters. I think the training, they say it has gotten, slower, a little bit lack on candidates, but I beg to differ. I think we can talk a little bit about what the military now looks like inside now that I've been through it. But no, I didn't go through ROTC.
Okay.
I heard of a couple of people who did go that route, but that was not the path I chose.
I think for you needed money for college, for grad school, or for training, and so you entered for that, specifically for the education benefits. Is that correct? That's what I did. I joined after my undergraduate degree. I needed money for graduate school. I didn't have anything, and I needed more training, and so it was a good opportunity to get both money for grad school, and I trained in a different field. So is that kind of what you did as well?
Kind of, yes. So when I went in, actually, I already held a master's degree. I was working in the field of cyber in the private sector. I had my master's and I went into the military for a second master's. So I enlisted, I think, in January of this year.
So I think you can do one of two things. You can get your degree with a student loan, and then you enlist and they'll pay back your student loan, right? Or you can enlist first and serve your time, and when you get out, you can use the post 9/11 GI Bill. Is that
the
correct?
GI Bill?
Yeah.
Exactly. So you'll finish your training, you'll get your certificate that you can apply to any university you're attending, and pretty much it will cover all of your studies for your master's. What it does not cover is law school. And I want to touch law school because I really want to go to law school as well. So really the military will only be covering my master's, not law school. I will go out of pocket for law school.
Okay, right. I remember that too, because they would not cover a second master's for me. They covered a second master's for you?
No, they're only covering one. Okay. I am paying out of pocket for my first one.
Yes. Okay. So there's different ways to do it, but one thing I took away from what you're saying is that keep in touch with recruiters, even though people think of recruiters as used car salesmen sometimes. Let's be clear, they just want you to enlist, but they have their hand on what you can do to get better. They have their hands on all of the different career options. And then when you speak with them, they can direct you to what might make sense with your personality. So yes, of course, they want you to sign on the dotted line, but they could also guide you towards your best options, whether that's becoming an officer, or if you have your feelers out to different recruiters, officer recruiters too, you can make the most informed decision instead of just staying in the Army, for example, because that's what you know. If you reach out to recruiters, you can see what your best options are. And I believe Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, they all want to keep you to themselves. So you're going to have to. You can't expect the Army is going to help you get out of the Army and into the Air Force. So you really have to be proactive in your military career. Would you say that, Stephanie, is correct? That you really had to figure it out, who to and talk to everybody and make the best decision for you, right?
Exactly. They just want you to sign on the dotted line. They don't really do the deep dive in terms of the military occupations that you want to choose. I would say they don't even consider your personality because they don't know you that well yet. Only you know yourself. And you have to make a case for why you want the MOS that you want, and why you think you're a great fit. But also your test scores have to show that you can, really make an impact once you get there. So your AIT training, to your advanced individualized training. So study for the ASVABs. No one can tell you no, you're not fit for this job if your scores are there. Clearly, you're good enough to be there.
Okay, and the ASVAB is the initial test that everybody in all of the Air Force, Marine, Army, whatever, that's the initial written exam that everybody takes in order to get into the military. If you don't score high enough, you're not getting in anyway. But if you score really high because you have a bachelor's degree, or because you're a pretty good test taker or whatever, if you score really high, your options are much better in which kind of jobs you can get. And so you do want to study for that ASVAB. It stands for Aptitude Vocational Battery. And now I don't remember.
Yes,
It's some kind of
the whole military
vocational battery
acronyms.
test, like a general kind of SAT, but it's a lot more general for other skills too that would be needed in the military. There are so many jobs in the military that can really be, you can use that training and then jump out to a civilian career. I know a lot of Navy guys became engineers. Navy does a lot of engineering on the boats, on the ships. And so when they get out, they go right into engineering type of jobs. So that's one, people don't know it. You really have to explore each of the services to know what is best for that. Like people say, oh, I want to be a pilot, therefore I'll join the Air Force. Actually, there are more pilots in the Army. So those kind of things you have to, it's worth exploring, but there's so many different options of free military training and how to get free college after your training. So Amory and Alice, have either of you even considered joining military reserves, or because you can do that starting at 18 years old after high school. Even probably you can sign up at 17 to start at 18. And then ROTC, like we said, that's part-time while you're in college. And then when you finish your bachelor's degree, your 4-year degree, you become an officer. That's ROTC. And does that sound like it's something of possibility, Amory?
At first, it did, because a few years back I was considering it, because I have family that is in the Army, not the American Army, the British Army. But when I was telling them about it and I was interested, they didn't want me to join. They discouraged. Okay, I don't want to say they discouraged me, because they told me if I wanted to, they would, but they don't think it's a good idea. He didn't tell me exactly why, but from that time, he was telling everyone. My uncle, he didn't want any of us to join. I don't know why, but yeah.
I mean, as an outsider looking in, it is rather scary. I'm sure my
Yeah.
mom certainly was not encouraging me to do it. And it's the military. There's the risk of, global, we don't know going on. What do you think about that, Stephanie? Would you say that you feel like your life is threatened, or how do you feel about being in the military in a time where the world is volatile?
I think we need good people. I just love the military, specifically the Army branch, because I noticed that we have terrible leadership internally. We don't have the best drill sergeants preparing, future soldiers with the best intentions. But this is why I say to, girls like Marie and Alice, I think the Army still needs good people. It needs high quality leaders. And I feel like New York forms some of the best leaders in the country. We've had a lot of presidents who are New Yorkers. We have incredible women who serve in the courts here in New York. There's a lot that you can get from this state, and incredible leaders do come out of this state, and I would encourage girls like Marie and Alice to go into the military and be the change that it needs at this time, because it is dire. What I saw in there, it needs more highly qualified candidates.
I was in active duty a lot longer ago than you, but the leadership has always been an issue. If there are strong leaders like Amory and Alice in there, it really could make such a positive impact. Alice, we didn't hear from you yet.
I haven't really decided yet, but I'm curious because I have some questions of what daily life of a reservist looks like and how challenging it would be to balance like school and work. Like I will also want to understand the kind of commitment I'd be making, and what experience it's really like.
Right. Yeah. So the reservist, I was a reservist, and Stephanie, you're a reservist now, correct?
I am a reservist, yes.
So it's like a weekend thing, but of course you have to, in order to get to any reserve, any part-time position, you still have to go through your full-time training. So if you were in cybersecurity, if you were in the medical professions in the military, whatever it was, you would have to go through the military training first, and that takes several months, if not years. When I studied at the Language Institute, it was a 2-year training program. Stephanie, you just went through the cyber program. How long is that? 6 months?
Cyber, no. The military occupation I chose in the Army, it was under special operations.
Okay. All right. So you're not in cyber in the military. Okay, that's good to know. So you're doing cybersecurity for your full-time job, and that's what you have your degrees in. Is that correct?
Correct. But I think it's good to touch on the special operations side, because if you do go into the military, I can give you now, I guess, an overview of what one of the most intense training looks like, because I just went through it. Very few females are in the special operations side.
Yeah, and that's amazing. Like very few, like 5% less.
Exactly. And you can think about the global operations. They're very limited. And because there are few women, think about it, you have few women climbing that ladder and becoming leaders in the spec ops space. So that's something worth touching on. You have to be very strong in who you are, not just physically, mentally, to endure all of this. You get through the basic training, through whatever MOS you choose, and I think life will unfold on its own. You will find that you can do more with less time, because that's the way the military, I guess, built you up internally.
So everything else will look easy comparatively, right?
Exactly. You won't think about it twice, waking up at 4:30 to go to work or to get your assignments out of the way, and then go to your 9 to 5, and then maybe later go to your evening classes. It's going to be nothing compared to what the military is going to put you through.
Okay, so your special operations, how long did that training take? Because that is quite unique, and it's like the top 1% of the military goes through. The Navy has the Navy SEALs, the Army has the special ops. So this is creme de la creme stuff. How long is that training?
So on active duty, it's about 26 weeks. It could be a little more if we do go to language training school in California. And depending on what language you have to take, that's really what extends the training on the active duty side. But I only did 10 weeks from the reservist.
Oh, okay. So if you come in with another skill set like a language, you would go for less time. So, Amory and Alice, are there any skills that you would hope to develop by being in the reserves, or do you think that that's something, or active duty, that military training could support your career goals now that you've heard that there's a kind of an open, it's an open opportunity, especially for women, which are, there are to have an open window to jump through in the military. I think that it's worth exploring, even if you decide to say no to it ultimately. But could you see that potentially the reserves or military training to duty could support your training and career goals?
I feel like if I were to join the reserves, I would particularly interested in like developing the traits that Stephanie mentioned, which is leadership, discipline, and problem solving skills, as I know that these are highly valued in almost any career. And the military emphasizes on teamwork and resilience, so I think that would be really beneficial in any field that I would like try to pursue in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's also an opportunity to network and to get, like you said, with teamwork, you can build this kind of bonds. I know that my own military connections have served me well in networking, because it is a strong bond that you have together. What do you think, Stephanie? Would you say that you learned a lot about that you were able to network using your military network and connections, and then also to build upon your leadership and your teamwork skills?
Yes, so yeah, you get a strong sense of discipline, teamwork, and adaptability. It's crucial for every environment, like Alice said. But really, I came in an interesting time. I came in at 30 years old. I had over a decade of work experience. I already had degrees. So I found that my peers would come to me for advice because they also wanted to break into tech, into the intelligence community, really. And I was surrounded by drill sergeants who only knew the special operations side. They didn't really have any familiarity with intelligence, how to break into it.
Oh, yeah.
It's a whole different thing. So I was really the subject matter expert in that environment. And I had my peers who were 18, 20 years old coming to me to ask me questions as to how I succeeded on the civilian side, working for companies like Meta, Google, important projects like that. Yeah. And especially breaking into cyber threat intelligence, that is such a niche within cyber.
Yeah.
It really requires an investigative mind. Before I served my country, I served my city. I worked human trafficking cases for 3 years here in New York, and that's really what cemented my investigative skills, and I was able to apply that to my cyber career.
Okay, so you talked about different elements of cybersecurity that involve even people, because like we mentioned before, Alice and Amory and I kind of have this idea that cybersecurity is behind a computer, not necessarily dealing with people. Would you say that in actuality, you do a lot of teamwork and you do a lot of coordination or collaboration with others, and you're not just behind a computer?
Yes, absolutely. We're going through a transformative stage right now in cyber, and we need to collaborate with internal stakeholders, external stakeholders, multiple agencies in the city to come together, really sharing intelligence. And it goes back to what happened in the September 11 attacks, where agencies were not talking to each other about what they were seeing in their threat environments in terms of, the terrorists coming into our country. It's the same thing. We're seeing cyber threat actors coming into our environments, and if we're not talking to each other, we're not really sharing intelligence, and really we're trying to prevent the next 9/11 cyber-wise.
Okay, so you do see the opportunity to be managing and be using your people skills in addition to whatever technological skills you have?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I think the following year I would have a huge role to play in my organization, where I have to train our partners who are not conducting proper cyber threat intelligence at this time, and we would have to train them on how to use a platform and how to form relationships in terms of the cyber attack patterns we are currently seeing in our threat environment to different sectors, different organizations, it all looks very different. And forming relationships is what's going to help us later attribute which nation state actor is looking to harm a state like New York, and furthermore our country, and what sectors are going to be impacted, and what the supply chain risk will look like if an organization is interrupted and not allowed to continue to prosper and continue, their daily routine, their daily lives.
Yeah, of course.
It's a lot of work
Yeah, so
to teach people.
Right. So you have to, I guess you do need to be in front of people, and it's not such an in front of computer and tech kind of job as well. So when talking about that you're a reservist, it sounds like you have your hands super full with your full-time job. And Alice asked it, and I'm kind of curious too. How do you balance the reserve that you work Monday through Friday doing your full-time thing, and then you go on the weekends to your reserve job, and then sometimes you have to get pulled out like for training, either it's training for more relating to special ops and what you're doing in the Army, or it could be training to get you to there's all kinds of different military training. Even if you're trained in the military with cyber, you still have to be qualified on a weapon. You still have to be qualified on all these other things that are not necessarily related to your job. It takes a lot of time just to be military ready. So how do you balance all of this stuff?
Yes, you have to stay in shape. Always, always, always. Get up early in the morning. You will take the 4:30 wake up time from your basic training, from your AIT training, and apply it to your civilian life now. And you'll make the time to wake up early. You can get 4 hours of a great workout before you hit your 9 to 5 job.
Early. What time do you go to sleep?
11. I would say 11.
Wow.
That's fine.
Okay.
It's not bad.
So you just get used to the different time because you know that in the morning you can be so productive?
I know that I can get a lot out of the way in the morning. Yes. And because cyber can be, sedentary, you're in front of a computer all the time, that makes me want to work a lot harder on the physical side. Not just because I would have these other opportunities and the responsibilities with my branches later on, but it helps you keep a clear mind. You have a healthy body, have a healthy mind.
Right. Yeah. So Alice and Amory, how do you feel about balancing a few different responsibilities like school and work and potentially military training? If it would do your career well, would you consider it? Would you be willing to make adjustments? I think that you guys are so headstrong, and you're willing to do whatever it takes for success. That I mean, I think it would be challenging. Do you think that you'd be able to manage it, or how would you manage it?
I think waking up extra hours earlier just to put the work in to build yourself as a person and be helpful to others is worth it. I used to wake up at 4:30 too when I had to be studying for those big exams, and I did see the outcome. I did see how hard work could really bring you places instead of just maybe studying like an hour a day. Actually putting the work in and just giving your best, I think it's worth it. So I wouldn't mind putting the work in, maybe in the military, especially if you're sitting at a desk all day. The extra physical hours is good too, not just sitting at a desk, but like overall, like flower boards and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I always found that even though it was difficult to wake up that early and the training is difficult, but your body will only go as far as you will push it. And so if you really can't push it anymore, nobody can make you push it any harder. So as long as you try your best, whatever that best is, the Army, the military is not going to make you go any harder or faster or different than you can do. So it's all up to you in the end. I've always found that even pushing through that and waking up early and having a routine and getting a lot accomplished, the sense of satisfaction, it far outweighs the pain of doing it. And your body kind of gets used to it, and you get used to that feeling of accomplishment too, that you have done the most with your day that you could do for yourself, for other people as well. And then of course, you're not working for free in the military, you're getting paid. So that too, and Alice, I want to ask you too, I don't mean to go over you. So do you think that you would be able to handle the multiple tasks of school and work and military training if it's something that could be beneficial for you and your family?
I think balancing schoolwork or like the military training will be a big challenge because I'm not like a physically fit person, and I might find physical demands of training and like keeping up with academics tough because like during those like busy weeks when there's exams and like tests, I feel like that I would definitely struggle. But what will help me manage through it would be having a structured schedule and like friends that support me for like the passion that I have towards a certain goal. And also like getting advice from other people who have been through this experience will make a huge difference as well.
Yeah, I also found that the networking the community that I find, even to this day, to network in the community with other military and the degree of like selfless service that they want to help me and they want to help others, this kind of passion of we served our country, how else can we serve, this kind of service mentality I found throughout everybody that I've known in the military. And I found that that's really so positive to be around people like that. And even if I'm not with them because I'm not in the military anymore, but those connections, they stay strong. And it's like an alumni association that never goes away, and you can always go back to people and they're happy to help you. So we talked about that you had 2 degrees before you came in. Can you remind us what degrees they are and where are they from?
Yes. So I'm actually a Forest Hills High School alum.
Right.
I was in your shoes.
Okay. Alumni Association.
Yes.
I love it. All Forest Hills. Love it.
Yes. After Forest Hills, I went to CUNY. I went to John Jay College of Criminal Justice, where I majored in a bachelor's of forensic psychology. I had a minor in writing and rhetoric. I love writing. That came in handy throughout my career. Like you wouldn't believe. I've written so many papers.
Yeah, if you love writing, most people hate it, but good for you. Okay, so a bachelor's in forensic psychology. I hear that come up a lot. People love because all of that CSI and investigative journalism or like true crimes podcast and TV show, Netflix. A lot of people are into forensic psychology. So you were able to spin that to cyber. So then is your master's in cybersecurity?
Yes. I went to Fordham University for my master's degree. Funny enough, my classmate there was an FBI agent. We worked very closely on projects, and it was great to see another female, leading in this space in a male-dominated field. As the military is.
So you're able to get connections in your master's degree of kind of like-minded people. Was that how you got, after everything was said and done and after your master's, got into the military? How did it come into your mind to do that?
The military was not in my sight, to be honest. I knew that I needed money for my second master's. And funny enough, my second master's, I will be doing it in Columbia University. I'll focus on international security policy. But for me to really do that genuinely, I had to become a person who is, boots on the ground. I can't just cover international security policy just for the sake of covering it. I wanted to serve my country. I already got the satisfaction of serving my city, helping my citizens, my community, but serving your country is another level. And if I want to become a subject matter expert in international security policy, I need to be a troop. I need to really feel what it means to serve, especially now.
Wow.
We can go to war at any point.
And so
for any reason.
So your master's is in cybersecurity, and now you're getting a second master's in international security policy. So what made you think that I don't need just one master's, I need 2? Because I guess was it along the way you started to see a kind of vision of what you could do, and then you started to go backwards. Okay, what steps can I do now to get to that vision? And how did you get to that?
Yes, I definitely felt that one master's was not enough. I think I felt the impact of the pandemic. I went to work for a consulting firm. I saw a lot of friends, get pulled towards the end of the year, lose their jobs. It just because you're in STEM, in cyber, you're a female in the office, you can't assume you're safe.
Yeah.
You have to keep evolving,
That's
continue
really
growing.
important. Yeah, that is, I think, probably the most important thing. Yeah, just because you're a woman and so you're the underdog or you're less represented, so your chances are higher. Just because you have a master's degree, just because you have a master's in from a great school like Fordham, doesn't mean anybody's safe. So you have to always be looking kind of towards the next level of how you could upskill and how you can kind of level up. Would you say, Stephanie?
You do, and I feel like the military, it gives you a backbone, it builds a tolerance within you to tolerate anything your civilian career will throw your way later on in life. You can think, okay, great, I worked for Meta, they don't need me anymore. They're cutting X amount of jobs. I know that I still have fuel left in me to continue, maybe find a better job in a better company. But what's going to make them want me? It's not enough to have the master's in cyber and the work experience. Now maybe I need to layer it with another master's. I need to become a subject matter expert in writing policy, cyber policy specifically. I need to understand not just the cyber threat landscape, but the international security matters that impact our cyber security posture in a country. So you have to build on these skills. I think you build your network at the same time. So in case you see a company going under and you're sadly part of that company, you can definitely make the quick jump out of those environments and save yourself and go work where things are more stable, where you do see growth.
Right. And meanwhile, as you are working on your second master's, you're making a nice salary in a comfortable job that has job growth in cybersecurity. So, but even like you're saying, and I say it myself, even with the comfortable salary job, like after I left active duty military, I was a contractor for the CIA, and it was a comfortable salary job. But and I used that to pay for my next master's. I use that for my next step. And so it's always not just where I am, but it's like assuming kind of that you're going to have to move. Everybody, you, me, everybody will have to leg off and upskill too, because nobody is really that safe like it used to be with companies that would keep you for 30 years. Everything is changing all the time. And so constantly looking for how you can leverage, and the military's tuition assistance, specialized training, benefits that can also help you. So we talked about the support that the military gives you as far as networking, that gives you kind of a stronger backbone. And certainly it pads your resume so that you have enough skills that you could pivot if you need to. In addition to, you have other degrees. For advice for Amory and Alice when they're navigating these kind of environments that are male dominated, that are like, we're talking about cybersecurity is male dominated, military is male dominated, even the Air Force, which has more women than other service members, it's still less than 50%. It's still more men. So do you have advice, Stephanie, for them about how to navigate these traditionally male-dominated environments?
Yes, absolutely. I would say I didn't have people that I could look up to that looked like me on the civilian side and the military side. So my biggest allies, surprisingly, they were not women. They were not. They were men who advocated for me, who brought me into their teams, who taught me that I got to learn from them. The women, not so much. And I think you'll find that if you do choose to go to the military, there can be a sense of, competitive nature between women. It can be a little bit combative, a little bit catty at times. But just, I guess, build your resume, stand strong with who you are and the skills that you have and what you bring to the table. And there's a right way to climb the ladder. You don't have to, I guess, pretend to be friends with some people to get to the top. Let your work speak for itself. Do it the right way, do it properly.
Right. But we know that it's not just what you know, it's who you know. So it could be a man or a woman who have your best interests at heart or who don't have your best interests at heart. Each one could have an ulterior motive to want to get something from you, or could want your demise, for lack of a better term, for whatever reason that it's probably has nothing to do with you. But the point being that keep your antlers up, your senses up for looking for who seems to be genuinely interested in my best interest. Who is there is who seems to really take an interest in helping me get ahead, or helping me understand my role here, or helping me be successful. Those people could come from places that you don't expect, or people that you don't expect outside of your typical chain of command. There might be others that are more invested in your success than people that should be like your manager. So always to be on the lookout for people that could potentially be supporting you, and then also be on the lookout for those who it's usually pretty clear who is not supporting you, and to try to steer clear of them. So Marie and Alice, so based on what you've heard so far, now that you see that there are other opportunities in cybersecurity that are not behind just a computer, and then other opportunities in the military that are not necessarily in combat, do you think that the military training is something that you would consider? And then what would be like information that might help you decide either way? I guess if the World War III happened, you wouldn't want to be in the military, or maybe you would, because again, it's a way to help, it's a way to serve, and it's a way to learn and train and also get money. So what do you think, Amory and Alice?
I think it's beneficial. I didn't want to join the military because I didn't want to be active duty, because I don't think I'll put my life on the line. I know together we're stronger, but I think if I use like what I'm good at in the best way I possibly can, that's the best way I could maybe benefit the military, so that wouldn't be active duty. Since I want to study psychology and law, if there were a path I could take in military, I would definitely. It would help me pay for school. It would help me give back, because it's important for me to give back. And in the military, that's really a first-hand experience and a way I could do that at all times, since I would be in there. It would be hand in hand both ways for me and to those I would be helping. So it would be something good.
Okay, Alice, what do you think?
I think I would definitely consider it because I feel like building connections, like Stephanie mentioned, was really like spike my interest, because I feel like in life it's not just about money, it's just not just about like pursuing your career, it's also like the friends that you meet along the way. And I feel like that is gonna be very beneficial for me in the future as well, because then like I get to share experiences with people that are similar to me, and them like sharing similar interests that I like maybe haven't gone through, or like experiences that like they've been through but like I was unaware of, and I think that would be really important for me.
Yeah, I really think it helps to build connections. It helps to build physical and mental strength. I definitely would recommend, as far as military reserves versus military active duty. The thing with reserves is that it's a part-time job. But you have to take it as seriously as if it's a full-time job, because when you get to it, they don't want you to be rusty in need of training. So when you fulfill your your part-time job with the reserves, they expect you to have the same capacity as somebody who does it full-time. And so keeping up that, especially if your part-time military job is different from your full-time job, keeping up both is really challenging. And also if you have a family, it's just a second layer on top of your commitments to your full-time job, to your family, to your commuting and your grocery shopping and everything that you're doing already. Now you have one weekend a month working. It's a bit much. I thought that active duty was much easier because I could just focus on my one job. I didn't have a civilian job and then also a military job. I just had the military job. And I also got a lot more benefits from doing active duty. Reserves, you have to wait because it is only part-time. You have to wait a long time in order to be considered a vet and to get veterans benefits. With active duty, you kind of knock it out, even though you say, oh, 4 years, my gosh, it's a lifetime. But if you did 4 years in college, you could do 4 years in the military. And that was my stance. And that's what I did. And then I came back to the reserves afterwards, after active duty. And I found that to be much more difficult. Like I said, it was like a whole nother layer of a whole nother job that I was expected to perform as good as if it was my full-time job, but it wasn't. So I had to keep up with training for that job, keep up with training for my full-time job. I thought it was a lot. And then the enlisted versus officers, Stephanie and I talked about it a little, but it's a huge, not only pay gap difference between enlisted and officers. Officers, you have to have a bachelor's degree. But once you do, not only is the pay much better, but of course, the networking and the connections are better. You're in with people also that have an education, more than one. Some doctors you can get your medical degree and then join the military, and they'll take care of your medical school expenses. Or law school, they also will take care of your law school expenses. But you're in with brighter people. I went in with my bachelor's degree, and I trained in intelligence in the language component. And so the people that I dealt with were on a much higher category than like there's basic jobs in any Army, Navy, like you can be a cook or make sure that operations are taken care of, make sure everybody has blankets on their cots, and making sure that all of the tomatoes are ordered for the lunch. But there are higher level jobs that require higher education. Then you're in with higher level people too. So I would definitely consider enlisted versus officer are totally different things. I was enlisted and I was an officer for a small time. I would definitely recommend being an officer, but the enlisted, you get to choose your training. So that's for another conversation. But so we're talking about how potentially your interests and your hobbies could also, you don't want to be in something like behind a computer if you're really a people person. But we're saying that in actuality, Stephanie said that you don't have to only be behind a computer to be in technology or to be in cybersecurity. And you gain so many skills, you said, Stephanie, in networking and connections and teamwork and leadership. So I'm going to ask you, Stephanie, what would you say, is there a most important skill in your cybersecurity work? You mentioned leadership, you mentioned teamwork. You didn't really talk about like your master's in cybersecurity. Do you lean more heavily on your technical knowledge or your people skills?
I would say it's a mix of both. I never expected to use my bachelor's in forensic psych and cyber, but I'm analyzing threat actor behavior. So that's a form of psychology. So I can definitely say I use both of my degrees. I found a way to weave them in. And like I said, talking with stakeholders, you have to maintain good, healthy relationships and be able to give a technical walkthrough at a level that they understand, that they can digest, so then they can implement your recommendations and take you seriously as an expert, and also respect your team, because you're representing a team ultimately, and your work will speak for that. So you will find that you're in rooms with people that you would never believe, talking to people who have more years of work experience than you have, but you're the fresh face that just finished, a graduate degree in cyber. So you are more knowledgeable in the sense that you got, instructed with the latest trends, with the latest databases that are being worked with. You are essentially a teacher. You're a great teacher. They want to hear from you, and your age shouldn't matter.
Okay, so then speaking as a woman in cybersecurity, even a woman of color in cybersecurity, how has your experience been? Have you faced challenges or adversaries based on those two things, being a woman or being a woman of color, and then exploring STEM careers in general, would you have any advice to give to Amory and Alice?
Yes, I can say I was one of two Latin women working in a consulting firm. And of course, you start thinking, am I a diversity hire? But no, like I said, get involved in the projects, let your work speak for itself, show people why you're in the room, why you were selected. You have these technical abilities, you are able to engage with people a lot more easily. Maybe you speak another language. They'll pick you for special assignments to engage with clients who I spoke to a lot of clients that were in Latin America, for example, because I was a fluent Spanish speaker and I could walk them through the technical aspects of any project we had. So make yourself stand out. You're not disposable. Go in with that mentality. And when you step in a room, don't make it about your socioeconomic background. Don't think that way. Don't think about the university you graduated from. Maybe it's not top tier. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're still in the room. Now keep yourself in the room. That's the tough thing. Staying in the room is the tough thing.
Absolutely. So you're saying that for as far as mentorship, you found them not necessarily in people that look like you or even necessarily in women. You found them in other places, even in your job in cybersecurity or in your master's program or in your military training. Is that correct?
Correct. You're not going to see a lot of women that look like you. I'm going to be very honest. You're going to see white men. So aspire to get to their position. How can I take their job later on? Let me become maybe the first woman to represent other women. That's why I want to go to officer school. I want to make sure that women like Marie and Alice are protected once they enter a military environment like this, because they deserve to grow internally. They deserve opportunities. They don't deserve to be, overlooked, put down, or for whatever reason be prevented from growing in their military careers. These women need to be protected. We need more women in the military.
Absolutely. And so when you go into a room, Marie and Alice, and you see that it is all white men, older white men, you say, well, check that box. I already knew that was coming. So when you hear from people like Stephanie about her experience, then you know more what to expect. And certainly, I think that that there's room for growth, if you apply a different layers, like it seems like Stephanie applied for her career and like I applied to mine, that there's different places to find mentors, that there's different way to get money for school, that there might be multiple degrees that you have to upskill in order to another level, and that always kind of looking at it as a work in progress, that your career isn't going to necessarily be safe from any person or any extraordinary circumstance, that everyone and everything is expendable. So you have to make the most out of your opportunities. And military might be a great opportunity because women are underrepresented. Cybersecurity might be a good opportunity because women are underrepresented, and both are positions where you would get networking, you would have connections that would last you a lifetime, training, education benefits, money, and good salaries. So again, officer, you said you're going from, Stephanie, from enlisted to an officer. I think that's a really smart move. But you do need a bachelor's degree. So for Amory and Alice, keep that in mind. You could always go for ROTC in college. Not all of the colleges have it, and it is an extra layer of, like we said, on top of school, or if you have a full-time job or an internship in college, then this added layer of military sounds like, oh my gosh, it might be too much. But the physical and the mental endurance and the connections that it might bring you could outweigh the difficulties. So please do consider that. Is there anything that you would like to, in the last part, say, because we are running out of time? I'll give it to Stephanie first, and then Amory, and then Alice, if you want to say anything as your last words before we wrap it up.
I would say if you are thinking about it, you're 18, before you go to college, go in, get it done while you're young. There's no harm in waiting. If you want to do your 4 years, maybe you don't want to go through a basic AIT environment. If you think you can push for more and become an officer, get your degree, get your 4-year degree. Go through college, go in as a leader, go in with a different mentality, maybe go in with a couple of internships under your belt, prepare your officer packet right after college, and do it that way. There's so many ways to get into the military at any point of your life, really.
Right. You did it
Just make
at
sure you're physically fit when you go in.
Yeah, right. There's some things that they just won't tolerate, like asthma. But if you have basic physical fitness, that's all they really are looking for. But as far as if you didn't do military and you just did cyber, now we know that cybersecurity is more than just sitting at a computer and writing or breaking or investigating code. It's about psychology, the psychology of who a terrorist is, and also working and connecting with teams of people throughout different regions, in different organizations. And so it is a lot of management of people and connecting with people. Amory, Alice, last thoughts? Maybe hopefully you can kind of see your career as a bigger picture and not just something that is 1 4-year degree and then you're off to live the rest of your life. Maybe you see that it's a kind of more stepping stones than that. And you need to do that in order to get ahead.
I just wanted to ask, if I join or if anyone joins, like as an undergraduate, how would it affect social life and just average college life? Like, would I have to train during break? Just maybe 1 day break? Because I know you said it's like a weekend thing. But yeah, that's my question.
Yeah, so you would be drilling once a month with your unit on the reserve side. But if you're going to be a working woman, already with your bachelor's, you probably landed your first entry-level job, 9 to 5. I'm going to say the next decade of your life, age 21 to early 30s, you're going to be hustling. You're going to be working very, very hard. Your social life, it may go out the window. I'm going to be very honest with you. Also, with the military, the divorce rate is very high.
Because you have to go
there
through a
are
lot
few
of
women in
training.
it, too.
Yeah. You have to go through a lot of training. So even if you join the reserve, you have to do your minimum basic training. That's like 9 weeks. So it's like a summer. Then you have to go through your job training, whatever job you have in the military. Let's say it's cybersecurity, for example. You have to go through the cybersecurity military school. You have to go to cybersecurity school, which is 6 months to a year. And then you do your 1 weekend a month for the reserves. So they do give you good benefits. And we didn't even talk about National Guard, because New York National Guard, New Jersey National Guard, and I'm sure, I don't know about every state, but they actually pay for your bachelor's degree in the National Guard. So that's something, it's not the 5 services in the military. The 5 services are Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, Coast Guard, and then National Guard is in the state. But each state, pretty much, they pay for your bachelor's degree too. So that's another option. Alice, do you have less words to say? Maybe you would reconsider considering the benefits. And we know you're such a strong girl that you could do anything if you think it's going to benefit you and your family. That's what I think. What do you think?
I don't have any personal opinion about it because I want to first focus on my career, and then maybe if I'm done with graduate school, I would go out and actually explore other pathways. And that really depends if my job is taking up majority of my time. But I'm really open to trying out new things and exploring new ways, because at the end of the day, there's still benefits that come with it.
Yeah, really there are. And it's benefits of having the relationship connections, the network, being part of that military family. Today is Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day, Stephanie. Happy Veterans Day to myself and to all of the veterans out there. It really is. Everyone comes away, most people come away with a feel of accomplishment, having served selflessly, and then also wanting to contribute to society. So I want to thank you, Stephanie and Amory and Alice, for joining today's conversation and bringing such valuable insights to the table. We covered so much about cybersecurity and also about military. We talked about the incredible demand of cybersecurity now and the earning potential in this field, but there's also unique ways that you can get into the industry. And there's unique ways, as Marcella said, with a second master's degree, that you can always upskill and upsell to whatever you see as where you want to go. So if it was me, I would also, like Stephanie said, look to who is the person in the room that I most likely want to be that position or be like that person in terms of their success or their accomplishments or their power, and try to imagine what you can do to get yourself there. So again, the Senior Year Game Plan is our podcast. It's our mission to help high school students and families make well-informed decisions about what to study, how to finance education, and then the best ways to explore alternative career paths. We believe every student deserves to find a career that fits not only financial goals, but also personal interests and passions. Today's discussion was around cybersecurity, and this is a great example of how you can pick a good return on investment career that aligns with various paths, and then you can use your college training programs and then military also potentially to provide fulfilling in-demand work that appeals to everybody's diverse skill sets, whatever that might be. So again, for students, choosing the right career path is about balancing passion and outcomes. At the end of the day, the Senior Year Game Plan is here to show you there are more options than ever, from non-traditional careers like cybersecurity to exploring routes in fields that you might not even have considered yet. It's about finding a career that pays well, but also offers growth and fulfillment and alignment with who you are. So again, thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Amory. Thank you, Alice. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Remember, we are here to guide you every step of the way as you explore your own unique career. Thank you so much.